Traveling when you have fibromyalgia can be a challenge. In fact, maybe you have chosen not to travel because you feel like you can't. So I have been traveling for the last little while and I'm back home again. So I thought I would share some of the tips that help me, even though at this time I'm not having issues, but I still do the same things I used to do when I did have issues. So some of the things that I do are I make a checklist of what the things that I do at home that keep me comfortable and keep me from having a flare or getting my body out of alignment, all those things that I kind of keep in check. So I make a list of that. And then from that, I make my list of what I want to take on my trip. So for me, some of those things would be making sure that I bring my supplements, making sure that I have comfortable clothes. And I also like to make sure that I have snacks. Yeah, I do daily gratitude. So making sure I have my book with that, because that helps me to keep going. So when I'm traveling actually in the car, the things that it makes it helpful for me would be things like having a neck pillow for if I feel like sleeping, so that my neck doesn't fall all over the place. I also make sure that my shoulders are in alignment, so my arms are supported, my hips at a 90-degree angle, because for me, that is what makes me comfortable. And I actually have made sure that any vehicle that I purchase, I am able to adjust the seat so that it's like that. Because in the past, that wasn't so. And when I would get out of the vehicle, I would be very, very stiff if I could even move at all. So as we're traveling, the other things I like to make sure is that we stop frequently. And usually for you, you'll need to decide what that is for you. For me, it works about every 2 hours around that time period, getting out and walking around and getting loosened up a little bit helps. Having lots of hydration, so drinking lots of water. I always keep water in the vehicle with me so that I am drinking and keeping hydrated. And of course, that makes the washrooms, this rest area stops necessary. So timing those appropriately. The other thing I like to do in the vehicle is making sure that I have anything that might cause distress to my body. So keeping sun clips, keeping the temperature at a good temperature. And fortunately for my vehicle, my husband and I can adjust for each side. So that helps. Making sure that when we travel that we also get lots of sleep. So we like to stop at a decent time so that we can have food and to sleep. My husband isn't a person that likes to stop for lunch. So I always pack a lunch for me so that I have something to eat, because I do need to eat on regular intervals. Otherwise, I don't feel well. So that's what I like to do. I think those are pretty much all the things that I like to do. Now, when we get someplace, I always make sure that we have things in place that we can be comfortable. I like to make sure that I have a place that has a tub, and I usually take some cleaner with me because I'm a little anal about that. So clean out my tub, and so that I can sit in it in case I need to, and if aches and pains, and that helps as well. So those would be some of my tips. If you're traveling on an airplane, when I used to do that, I haven't done that for a while recently, but when we did that, I would actually check all my luggage rather than having to lift it, so that I do carry-ons, so that because I wouldn't be able to lift it up over if I was traveling by myself. And so and I would just take a light bag with me, because then it doesn't bother your shoulders. And when I was traveling for work, I also took a computer, which of course I wouldn't put into the luggage. I would make sure that I had a good roller bag so that I wouldn't have to be carrying it, and then get someone to help me to lift it into the overhead bed. Or I kept my one actually small enough that it would go underneath in front of me. So that worked well for me. And again, I would say keeping hydrated is very important. It helps you with the feeling more energetic. And I always like to make sure have taken my supplements well. If you have other tips, be sure to let me know. Oh yes, the other thing I do on a long flight is making sure I wear compression stockings. They help. And actually, I didn't do that this time on my trip to Florida because we did stop frequently. If I'm on a trip where the ability to stop frequently isn't going to be there, then I do wear compression stockings during that time too. But usually when we drive, we can stop frequently, and I can get out and move around. The other thing I do is I have been wearing one of those patches. This past time when I went, I had put it on to start with, more of a prevention, because usually what happens is even getting out frequently, I will have a hard time sleeping at night, and not getting good sleep then of course contributes not to feeling so well the next day. So I did put a patch on preventatively, and amazingly I slept really well that night. It's a non-drug patch for pain. Freedom, I think it's called Freedom Patch. Anyhow, I'll put that in the description below if you want to check that out. And I think that's all the tips I have for you today. So have an awesome day, and if you are traveling, I hope those help.